Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Fratello Talks. I'm your host Nacho, and today I'm joined by
Thomas
and
Lex.
And we are going to be discussing a topic that's come up lately at the office. We've been talking about this quite a little bit, and I think that our audience could also probably stand to hear this. So let's talk about it. We're going to talk about how you shouldn't let money get in the way of enjoying watches.
Yeah.
Sounds a little bit elitist if you take it in a certain way, but let's explain it right after we do wrist check.
Oh,
Lex, what's on your wrist today?
My Speedy, the relaunch, the
replica.
The replica. You can't say replica.
Don't say it. We'll get banned from YouTube.
Yeah, I also can't say the reference number because I don't know the reference number.
Okay. But, YouTube can't ban us because there's not enough employees at Meta anymore.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's a good thing.
So we can say whatever we want.
Anyway, so I'm
the same thing. No, it's Google.
Sorry.
No, that's Instagram. Sorry. Anyway, perfect.
Yeah. So there's a stain on it.
Lovely.
Yeah, lovely stain on the flexi. Yeah, I love it. It's the broad arrow. It's from 2001, and I'm wearing it on the Joseph Bonny. Matchy. Yeah.
Very nice. Perfect. Thomas.
Yeah.
Thomas, please.
Thomas.
I am not wearing what. What's going on? This feels very weird.
I think it's super cool.
It is super cool. It's not what I usually wear, as regular viewers and listeners might know.
Yeah.
Mixing things up.
I won't mention it, but I'm wearing a Barron's 11G. And
Ultralight.
well, the 11G kind of says it all. It weighs 11 grams. And
crazy.
It is crazy. So I'm doing a hands-on with this. So I thought I'd wear it for a little bit, and it's quite the experience. It's also very purple.
I wasn't going to mention it.
Yeah. No, it's very purple.
Could you tell me the time?
Yeah.
Hold
on.
It's a simple question.
That's the elephant in the room.
I think it's 10:15.
Ah.
Yeah, it's not the kind of watch that if someone asks you the time, you just show them your watch. That's not how this works.
Excuse me, what is happening here?
Yeah, exactly.
All about to blow sky high.
Yeah.
But it is impressive.
It's very impressive, yeah.
It's
not just light, it's also
Do you
thin.
know the price from the top of your head?
Wasn't it 10,000 and a bit? 10.8 or something?
I think so.
I think it's just under 11,000.
But I respect you, Thomas, because you're not letting that get in the way.
Exactly.
You enjoy
Exactly.
the
That's
watch.
why.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
what
we'll
do
get
you-
back to that.
what are you wearing?
I'm wearing my Seiko Lordmatic from 1973.
Lordmatic.
Yeah, I got this yesterday, so it's a fresh on my wrist. It's a 5606 movement using reference, and I really like it. It's kind of like the poor man's Grand Seiko in a way, and I'm the poor man. So that's there you go. No, I really like it. It's got a lot of that charm, and I've put
the designers were looking out of their box.
Exactly.
They found
Inspired
inspiration
by this alleyways, horribly.
What year is
filthy
this?
gutters?
Because it looks like the bracelet.
73.
Oh,
Oh no,
wow.
the bracelet is.
Yeah, what's with the bracelet?
The bracelet is it. You can.
It's ASMR.
Yeah, we'll put this up
ASMR.
when we do the wrist check. It's ASMR.
People hear the jingle. It's truly
okay,
ASMR.
I'll wiggle it in front of the mic.
Oh, that's so satisfying.
It's a very but it's actually quite comfortable. Like
Yeah,
a
of course,
solid
it's
bracelet.
supple as a leather bracelet.
Exactly.
A leather strap.
Exactly.
Supple
You
as
can
a bit of
literally
rope.
flip it inside out. Precisely. So no, I really like this. It's nice. I put the day complication in Japanese,
Yeah.
so I have no idea what day it is.
No, but that's the best thing to do.
But it's nice.
It's ornamental
nice.
anyway.
No, I like
That's
it.
nice.
I like it. I went down the rabbit hole and
You clearly
I
did.
think I paid 160 euros for this.
Don't make it about money.
Don't
That's
make it.
No, but that's another way in which we'll get that towards the end.
Okay.
That's another way in which you don't have to let money get in the way of enjoying watches. So what do we mean by that?
Yeah, tell us.
Well, I think what we mean is it's a point that we even raised in some of the previous podcasts,
Yeah.
right? I think that it's not. Your thoughts on every single watch don't have to be influenced by its price tag. They don't have to be influenced by the fact that it's unobtainable. I think something being unobtainable shouldn't immediately mean that you have to dismiss it, and I think that you should still be able to look at it as like a great piece of craftsmanship and engineering, and I can't afford a Lange, and that's fine. I still look at those watches and absolutely love them. Same as I can't afford a Leica M10 or a Porsche 911, right? It's one of those things where
lunch.
You can still I can afford lunch. Not today, but tomorrow I'll buy lunch. No, but it's one of those things, right? And I think that this kind of gets lost a little bit, at least from the conversations that we see sometimes in the comments. A lot of people will immediately say, "Oh yeah, but it costs this much. That's entirely too much." And sometimes there's a point in referencing at prices, especially when you're looking at previous prices and everything. But we really feel that letting the price tag get in the way of you enjoying something is a bit of a shame. It's a bit of a missed opportunity, right?
Price is not irrelevant.
No, certainly not. No.
Definitely not. But it's also not. It should not always be the number one talking point when you're talking about watches. But the whole problem I see is that we're talking about money all the time when we're talking about watches nowadays. Yesterday I was at the Hublot boutique, and then I had a short conversation with someone working for a lifestyle, a glossy lifestyle publication. We talk about watches, and she tells me that it's such a fascinating world to come into, and I love the mechanics. And I thought, oh, this is interesting, but do you see it as an investment? And you get that whole investment money thing that everybody is talking about, which I find a bit boring, because also there's not a lot of watches to talk about when you're talking an investment. What do you think, and what is an investment anyway? Whatever. And then there's also the other thing with price is, why do you always look at something as something you want to own? Because there's a lot of other things that I like looking at without the necessity to own it. Also because I can't afford it, sometimes also don't want it, but it doesn't mean that I can't look at it, because otherwise what's the point of going to a museum?
Or a zoo.
Or
True. You don't go to a zoo and you go, yeah, that's a beautiful tiger, but yeah, it's a little out of my price range. I don't have the room for it at home. Right?
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Only it were 37 millimeters.
That's a topic for another day.
Oh, that's the thing. It's there's so many things that I like looking at, and I'm quite sure that also watch lovers and watch fans. You look at sports, you probably read a car magazine or a guitar magazine or what have you. There is this just stuff that's out of your reach. And when you start comparing vintage Strats with vintage Gibsons and stuff, okay, hey, if you're in the market for it, I get it. But I also feel, and that's something in the comments, a lot of our commenters, and also myself included, that of course you can compare a Lange with a Patek, and you can say, okay, this and but if it's never going to be in your price range to begin with, just let the price be the price, and enjoy what the watchmakers have done to ensure ultimate precision or another stunning complication or the finishing. And I think then the joy is also endless.
Exactly. And it's something that we as watch people who write about watches, watch journalists, call it what you will, have to learn. Right? When you first come into it, you've possibly been fascinated by watches. You enjoy them at your own level, and then at some point you're faced with having to write about something that's completely out of your field of expertise and also out of your price range. And at first you can sort of think, yeah, but if this is this, then I'm not interested in it. And then it's okay to. You have to get over that. It's necessary to get over that and to be able to appreciate something for what it is beyond just a price tag, and also style and things like this, and look at the technical details.
But I also think it's to some degree it's part of the sort of internet hobbyism that we're in, because I really link it to specifications as well, which we've also been frustrated with sometimes. And we're in part to blame because we write about them quite extensively. But if you're online and you don't have access to the stuff to see it, to hold it, to to talk to people who make it and stuff like that, then it becomes really attractive to just sort of compare spec sheets and prices and just go. And then there's a couple of brands, obviously, that really effectively target that, who focus on like, how can we maximize all the specs and minimize the price? And that's really great because it sort of keeps everyone on their toes and it offers a lot of watch to fans of those brands.
There's an audience for it.
Yeah, but it also kind of reduces everything to a very technical sort of Excel sheet watch hobbyism.
There's no romance. There's no.
And that's not to say, that's not the same as saying, okay, so if you do a little bit more branding and whatever, then you can suddenly charge whatever you want and just throw it on the romance excuse. That's not the case. But there's refinements in watches that you really have to experience and that can be extremely costly. You have this, there's just the law of diminishing returns, you know. If you get a Christopher Ward and you then spend twice as much, do you get twice as much watch? No, probably not. If you then spend twice as much again, you get even less increased quality. True. But it's ever more expensive and hard to get those gains in feel and in quality. And they're really hard to express in money or in specs.
For sure. Definitely. But I think we need to cover all the facets of a watch. So the storytelling, the specs, the price, and sometimes also the price is a big part of a watch failing or not. That's also something, especially in a price range where there are more possible buyers. As you know, Rolex stopped the Carl F. Bucher watch brand, the Bucher in-house watch brand. I did a little story on that, and a while back I had a Patravi Scuba Tech dive watch, a green one, which was quite an impressive chunky dive watch. But the price, I think, and I have to say this on the top of my head, it was $6,250.
Yeah.
For $6,200, you get a Omega Seamaster Diver 300M. And actually, we had the green version in not too long ago. So I saw the Bucher, and then I saw the Omega, and then you have the same price. Then even the specs were a little off with the Bucher, the emotional story behind it.
It was like a lesser power reserve.
Lesser power is an older movement. It was also bigger, so you get more watch. And then you also think about the environment where they sell it. So that's also kind of a direct competitor to the Omega that is 3 windows down in the same store. So then you have to mention the price because it becomes very, very relevant.
Definitely.
But when I look at a Richard Mille, or we can even talk about the Behrens, because I think it's a very interesting watch because it's somehow within price range of a lot. Then. How important is that price, especially if you're just an onlooker?
Yeah.
And in the case of a Richard Mille, I definitely am just watching,
very much
watching, not touching. But in the case of that Behrens, it becomes really interesting because you could also buy a Rolex sub for that money.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to compare that to a Rolex.
They don't do them in purple, though. That's the thing.
Nope. No, but it's then how do you look at a watch like that? It becomes the.
I like to compare it to Top Gear, for instance.
Yeah,
I used to watch Top Gear maybe 15 years straight when I was a lot younger. I used to just sort of religiously watch Top Gear. In the golden years
of Top Gear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The first couple of years, I didn't even have a driver's license. And the last couple of years, I had nowhere near the money to even think of any car, let alone Ferraris, Aston Martins, whatever. But there's still this interest and this fascination, and you can admire them. The same way you would a tiger in a zoo, basically.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's something, but I feel a little bit of responsibility there as well as Fratello writers to convey that message.
Yeah,
so when I'm about to write an article on this Behrens, I could draw comparisons, specs-wise, price-wise, what have you. I think it's much more interesting to say, like, what is this like? What's the experience like? What triggers me? What doesn't? What
It put a smile on my face when I wore it.
Yeah, and if you see someone wearing this, like you want to go, hey,
what
hold on.
is that?
Yeah,
right, exactly.
So yeah. I think we should, but we should take responsibility as well. There,
absolutely. I agree. I agree.
Yeah, it's easy to get a little bit jaded, right? I think especially when you move around in the industry and you see a lot of people that have been doing it a lot longer and of different socioeconomic backgrounds that come in and out of the picture wearing completely insane stuff, but at the same time. It's about just being able to admire it. Like, I think the Top Gear thing is really interesting, and it's the same as like that's why kids will still play Gran Turismo and pretend that you're driving. There's video games for everything, right? There's Formula One, MotoGP, football. Anyone can go out and play football with their friends, but people meanwhile use a plastic controller to play it on a screen, right? And that's because in a way you're sort of living the experience vicariously. And I think that it's also it's in a way it's. If you get too cynical and too wrapped up in like, but where there's a line in the sand that price determines that I can't cross, anything that's beyond it, I'm not interested in.
Yeah,
I think that's.
Is it also in part down to it being it's a consumerist hobby in a sense? Like, for sure, you can either study watches or you can buy them and own them, but it's not like, for instance, with you mentioned guitars, you can. You can study and collect guitars
and play them.
Or you can play. But playing with your watches is a bit hard, right?
But that's true. It's a very consumerist hobby. Yeah. But at the same time, we also made it way more a consumerist hobby than it used to be, I think.
Yeah.
How so?
I didn't have a fascination for watches because I wanted to own every single watch I loved in the Armbanduhren catalog, because some of them were just like dreams, and that's great, and that's the same with hypercars, and it's the same with I don't know. I can look at villas and admire the architecture and the scenery where they put it and the materials used, and then I don't think but it's too expensive, and I can also get this and this and that there and there. No, you just look at it, you admire it, and sometimes you can also sometimes admire stuff that might not be for you. But you could. Definitely. It's a live and let live, and that's also a little bit of what's happening. Everything gets dismissed.
Yeah, I said this yesterday, right? It was the if every fashion journalist that sits in Paris Fashion Week and sees like a couture show happening in front of them would go, it's nice, but I don't think I would wear that Sunday picking up donuts and coffee from the local place.
Yeah,
it's like of course that's not what it's about.
No, that's not what it's about.
Not supposed to be. Imagine if everybody was out there driving Pagani Zondas to and from their 9 to 5. What world would that be? It's completely insane.
I would want an Opel Corsa if everybody was driving a Pagani Zonda.
Yeah. But you want the 1 liter one as well. The base model with the windows that
definitely. Then you're going to stand out. I think that's a super interesting watch, because if you buy that, if you really are making a statement, because you're swimming against the stream in every single possible way, because you're buying something non-Swiss. You're buying something that
purple.
Is it
or red? Or there's other colors.
There's also red, white, and black.
There's also a 20G in titanium.
Yeah, but that's so heavy.
It's too heavy.
That's too heavy.
Yeah, I don't have to buy 20 grams.
No, but
11 is okay.
It's such a cool statement. You're making such an individual choice. That.
Yeah.
Is that going to be an investment? Probably not. Is it going to bring you joy? Probably,
and
yes.
What should it be about? That's the thing. And this is obviously a watch that has a specific price point, but you could do the same thing at a much lower price point.
Oh, definitely,
Pick up a purple or a colorful G-Shock for €60, right? And then that's going to also you're going to also stand out in a different way.
But then then we have to talk money. But there's also the €60 is a reasonable amount of money. A lot of people can spend 60. If you go for dinner, the two of you're gonna be
probably, here in the Netherlands a little more.
Yeah, exactly.
A little more.
That is 11,000.
Yeah.
So then also you have to be willing to spend 11,000 and lose 11,000, so to speak.
Definitely.
But that's also great, because buy it if you can afford it.
Definitely.
Don't buy it if you think, okay, I'm going to buy it, but then I need the reassurance that I can get my money back.
But you're touching on something interesting here, I think, which might be one of the causes of this attitude that we're discussing today.
Yeah.
I think if you look at Instagram or other social media, you really get a sense like, oh, if you don't have like 20 ridiculous watches, though, you're really not a real watch lover. There's this, keeping up with the Joneses vibe.
Definitely.
Yeah. And that's sort of triggering people to think of it like, oh, I have to amass these things and I have to own them. And I mean, that's something that's really important to realize. Like, no, you don't. You can actually wear your Casio F91W and read Fratello every day.
Exactly.
Those two things can live outside of each other.
You can be a fan and a connoisseur without owning a crazy amount of watches.
But it is the interesting thing you said before, Thomas, which I really liked. It's that with Lex and Thomas, you both kind of said it, where you can buy a lot of expensive guitars, that might be great. You decorate your living room in an interesting way. Yeah. But if you then there's also the thing of like, do you know how to play the guitar?
Yeah.
It's the same with cameras. It's the same with many of these things where you go, where's the skill in wearing a watch, right? That's the interesting thing. So it's kind of like the purchase and I guess wearing it is the proactive thing that you do with it.
I think studying it, like reading up, and I think that's the hobby for most. Yeah. But it's very tempting because I've fallen for that as well. You study up on something. I don't know, Dirty Dozen watches, whatever. You read the entire history and you go into it and what have you. It's really tempting to then say, okay, now I want one.
Yeah, that's it.
But you don't have to.
No.
You don't have to.
You don't have to take that step. It's not the necessary next step.
Is that also why the whole why you think that the investment thing also became quite popular? The fact that it's like pulling out your app that keeps track of all the prices of your watches, and you go, oh look, I'm up 17% on my that's it. Also becomes a competitive thing, and I think humans are naturally competitive in a way. So that is a way in which you can, because I think that's the thing. A lot of people probably finally spend the money, show up, and then there's a guy wearing the exact watch who's like, I've had this for 5 years. And you go, oh, yeah. Like, there's a very hollow feeling in some ways to buying a watch if you are expecting to get like a transformation or an immediate payoff. No, you're going to get the watch and then you have it. And then you immediately realize that the chase is over and now you can just enjoy it, but you're going to have to enjoy it yourself. Like that's the thing. There's not going to be this like constant positive reinforcement of like, oh wow. Whereas if you're like, really good at guitar and you maybe make some YouTube videos or you play a gig, people are going to go up to you and go, oh wow, you're a really great guitar player.
Yeah, but more importantly, you can just sit on your couch and play, and that is enjoyable.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's no need for outside approval, basically.
No.
And with watches, I think for a lot of people there is.
Yeah, there is.
I think the art is in collecting to try and step over that. So if you feel like, oh, I have to buy the Rolex Submariner because that's the classic, but this excites me. Yeah, get this.
And that's also it. People should also not be snobs, right? No. It should also not be about like, it has to be this specific watch. Hey, maybe you get your kicks from something that's different.
That's exactly what it is.
I think I wrote an article about it maybe a year ago or something like. The zenith of watch enthusiasm isn't snobbery, something like that.
Yeah,
that's definitely a really important point, I think. Yeah,
but I think that we've kind of now run the gamut of it. This is the point that we wanted to raise, is that that people can just same as we do, just enjoy things for what they are, for the either it doesn't have to be about owning it, doesn't have to be about the price tag, doesn't have to be any of these things. It just we should just not let that get in the way of us enjoying.
No, because it's a fascinating world. It's
definitely cool. Okay. All right. Well, thanks, guys. It was an interesting discussion. Let's get to our comment of the week. Comment of the week this week comes from, if I can open the page, Konstantin BCB, who says, "Why is Loki talking about watches?"
but that was only
Mr.
because I was
Hiddleston.
sitting there. And then this is the wrong angle.
Okay.
And I had a haircut since.
You look like
A slight
Hiddleston from
haircut.
once-
Yeah.
Right,
Well,
okay,
yeah.
okay. No, Loki's gone. The god of mischief and talking over other people is. Sorry, no.
I'm
Okay,
really doing my best not to do that.
it's difficult.
I'm really doing my best not to do it. I'm really doing my
We're a passionate bunch of people.
That's it.
And we end up talking over each
Exactly.
other. And
You'll get corrected in the comment section.
it
Oh,
is what
yeah.
it is.
Thank you,
Haters gonna hate.
commenters.
Haters gonna hate, and then
That's
there's
all good.
other people will tell you look like Mr. Hiddleston. So that's,
Mr. Hiddleston, I won't do the dance.
We still
Do
love
the
you,
dance.
Max.
Come on.
do
We
the
still love you.
Perfect. All right.
All
Well,
right.
thank you, guys, and thank you for tuning in. Let us know your thoughts on this topic in the comments down below, and of course, join us again next week for another episode of Fratello Talks. See you then.